In this video, I sat down with a few other members of the Beach Life group to really dive into what's exactly happening right now in the San Diego real estate market, what we're seeing out there with buyers, what we're seeing out there with sellers, and kind of what to expect going forward. So, as always, if you guys ever have any questions, you want to start that conversation, we are real estate agents right here in San Diego. So, feel free to reach out. All our contact info is in that first line right below. But let's jump into it.
So we're into 2024 now. The interesting thing about 2023 to me, it was actually a very interesting year, but most people said the prices were going to drop. Some people were like, prices are going to drop, I think, 15, 20%. Yeah. And so that didn't happen. What actually happened is we're up, I don't know, 10%, 8 to 10%. We're actually up, not from a year ago, January to now. Median price home is actually up 15%. So it all depends on when you grab these numbers, how far you're up and stuff. But one thing I will say that's interesting to start the year, because we came into the year with some momentum after rates dipped, they hit 8 and then dipped. The interesting thing is we saw some really good momentum coming into the year, and prices are up 3.9% in just 1 month. Median price 1 month over the next month. That's a pretty big jump.
Mm-hmm.
So having said that, what do you think's coming, Chris? If you're a home seller, if you're going to be selling your house this year, what are you looking for?
All right. So home sellers, I'm just going to take 3 examples that we recently had because they're in 3 different price points, 3 different areas, give you a good spectrum of kind of what to expect. 2 of them are still in that starter price point for those neighborhoods. And that's a different story than our third one. So first one was a home that you had up in Carlsbad. And it's that right now it's entry-level home for $1.2 million. Detached home, condos, a little bit different, but still in Carlsbad, that's what you're looking at right now. In that situation, you got multiple offers, you got bid up above list price, you had a ton of showings. It went that first weekend pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we've seen over the past years. Now it wasn't, it was kind of on that frenzied, that we had a few years ago, but not quite. We're not quite there yet. The second one was, once again, entry level, still $2.3 million, but out in the Livenhain. Now that price point out there, that's like starter. That's like as cheap as you're going to get out there, as affordable as you're going to get out there.
Because you get some land, get about an acre, and
and it's a unique property too. Farm property, goats, chickens, big play area. How many was it? 1 acre?
0.82.
0.82, just shy of 1 acre.
Yeah.
So
super cool setup too. I mean, it was really done.
And it's one of those properties that don't come up all the time. So
very unique.
27 showings. We had a multiple offer situation. It did get bid up a little bit above the list price. First weekend, once again, I mean, there was some negotiation time, but for the most part, it was that first weekend.
Yep.
Third property is going to be right where we're sitting right now in Cardiff, and it is just shy of $4 million. One of the better priced homes in Cardiff, but typically in this price point, you're going to have a little bit longer market time.
Yep.
Right now, about 30 days. We did have it in escrow at one point at about 17 days or so.
Yep.
That one did not work out, so it's back on the market. But typically, like I said, Cardiff a little slower. As you get to those elevated price points, just the buyer pool drops a little bit less. And also, once you get to those higher price points, what we've been seeing recently is that's cash offers, even at that 2.3 cash offer. Whereas, so
all cash offers.
Yeah, all cash offers. And so it just depends on what bracket you're in. I know the interest rates are elevated, but buyers are still finding a way to make it work in all these situations.
There's typically, or there has been this year, over 40% of the luxury type homes that are selling are cash.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a normal thing. The Cardiff by the Sea market this year was in the top 100 zip codes, by the way.
Yep.
I think it was number 80, something like that.
Yeah.
Del Mar was above
Beat out
it.
La Jolla. La Jolla was like 99.
Yeah.
Cardiff came in,
Yeah.
right
So
below that.
when I grew up here, that was not Cardiff.
Cardiff was a little funkier.
It's become, so, but because it's super cool, you got restaurants you can walk to, the market, the beach, everything's, but, so that's kind of a wide variety. I mean, and so what do you think going into, as we go into spring and summer?
I think it's going to continue. Obviously, like we always preach, when you're getting your house ready, preparation, key. Pricing, key. Promotion, key. All three factors still super important, but you're going to have more buyers still in those, in those entry level price points, no matter what city you're in. If you're in San Marcos and the entry level is like 900 to $1 million, not in San Vallejo, but like, the northern part of San Marcos, you're probably still going to get a bunch of competition. Or Vista, or any of these, where you're not the coastal cities, even the coastal cities. So there's actually a property that we had a client reach out about over in, I'm going to call it entry level area of Encinitas, Village Park area. And it's going to need some work. It's priced accordingly, but I still think even right now, it's almost a $900,000 townhome in Village Park, like 1,200 square feet or so.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be competition on that. First off, because there's nothing on the market in there. You're looking around.
900,
There's one. It's the same floor plan. It's listed just shy of $1 million. So if you're comparing, like, okay, I get into this one for $100,000 less, maybe put some, some sweat equity in there.
Yeah, you can do a lot.
That's the reason it's still going to get pushed closer to that other one, I think. So I think we're just going to see more of that in the entry level, and then the higher end market. It's still going to move. San Diego market times are relatively fast compared to a lot of other areas. 30, 45 days in luxury market. It's not crazy long. So
San Diego in the when you're looking at price appreciation just through November, I think Detroit was up 8.2% year over year, and San Diego was 8%. We were in the top 2 or 3 nationwide when you look at the Case-Shiller numbers. One thing too, I think to keep in mind when you're pricing a home, the price is part of the marketing. It's not necessarily, some folks think about it, hey, this is what I want for my house and that's what I'm going to put it at. But really the price is one of the ways you set your house up, set it up to get
in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the big thing.
Not always necessarily the number you're going to get, but part of the marketing. So when we're looking at, after we've talked about all this, it's a little more challenging for buyers still because of inventory levels, right?
Yeah. I mean, inventory levels, and also just that interest rates still, like even, in January, we saw them go down a little bit, not a crazy amount where all of a sudden the market completely shifted, but enough where we saw some buyers get into some homes.
I think there was a little bit of a shift when we got about 1.5 points shaved off. And if you look at inventory levels and activity, like going into November, December, pretty good. But now we've bounced back up closer to 7. Like we hit 6.3 or so, and now we're closer to 7.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, and we'll see what happens with interest rates. And I think that'll be the big driving force this year when it comes to buyers, because buyers have been planning accordingly what they can afford. And with higher interest rates, it's tougher and tougher. And your buying power is shrunk as soon as those rates drop, move anywhere north. So
luckily people are making more money according to the numbers they tell us. That incomes are up a little bit. So hopefully that offsets some of it. What level do you think interest rates cause a problem?
I mean, I think we saw them get to a level that we didn't imagine.
A little over 8. Yeah.
And that definitely caused a problem.
Yeah.
I think since it sat at 7 for a while, or in the 7s for a while, people started to get used to that. We saw a little bit more movement during the summer. But I'd say as soon as you dip below that, all of a sudden people see 6 again, and they're like, that's our new norm. Yeah. And then once it creeps back up, although it looks like it creeped down just a little bit today, but we just don't know.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we're watching it. The lender we use, they're on top of this stuff. The other thing that you can do too is, if you're a buyer, you can use these times when rates bounce up a little bit and there's a little bit less activity for home sellers to maybe negotiate a buy down or something. And we've done that a lot over the past year. You get buy downs and get your rate lower for the first couple of years. So
I've seen it in a listing or two as well, where they're offering the seller, maybe the property's been on the market for a lot longer than it should have, or it was a little bit overpriced to start. And in the listing description, or, in our private remarks, seller willing to offer a 2-1 buy down. So just to get, generate a little bit more buyer demand, because they're going to help that buyer get a more affordable rate and payment right off the bat.
Yeah, and the good thing is that some people, when they hear some of those things, they think about where people were doing variable rate mortgages and stuff in the past. This is just straight up that you take the rate today at 7, year 1, you're at 5, year 2, you're at 6, and year 3, you're at what normal rate is from then on.
You know what your rate's going to be when those 2 years are up.
So it's really just getting a home seller to pick up your interest payments for the first 2 years to get the payment a little bit lower.
With the hope that you'll be able to refi in a couple of years.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And so it's a good way to especially in the market, if we see more inventory.
Yeah.
This time of year, right in January or December, really is the bottom of the market for inventory. If you look at, if we just went back 10 years and we looked at, you always see December, the low, and it bounces up almost double inventory by the time you get to the end of January because just normal cycles of people been on the market, they take their house off the market and they put it back on, those kind of things. So, but right now we're still at like under 2 months supply of inventory overall. Some areas 1 month supply.
Yeah.
You were showing some folks 1.7-ish. Carlsbad to San Alejo.
Yeah.
And so how many houses do you have in a situation like that?
Between 2 days, we're going to go look at 9 houses, which is, I haven't done since 2019, I think.
Yeah, pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, for sure.
Yeah.
There just hasn't been, but it's also folks that don't know the area that well, so they're trying to get an idea of where they want to land.
Where are these guys coming from?
Bay Area.
Yep.
So, they're trying to get a good idea of what all these neighborhoods have to offer.
Yep.
But to have that much inventory to show is kind of wild. I mean, like literally, it's for the last 2 years, it's been, okay, this house came on the market, let's go see it this weekend. And then 2 or 3 weeks go by.
Yep.
Let's go see this one. We have a handful of clients where that's the case still right now because they're specifically looking in a village park or specifically living in or looking in a part of Vista. So homes aren't coming on as often. But having a little bit more flexibility in where you land definitely gives you way more opportunity to get to choose a house rather than having to jump on the only one on the market. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, I'm sure it's like this around the country, but even the neighborhoods go through cycles where San Alejo was like on fire last year and then it kind of peaked out.
Yeah.
Because prices get pushed up. And then people are like, well, I can go over here for close to the same. Yeah. And everybody moves around. So, what are you expecting? I mean, I've had this theory just from the people I'm talking to, and this is one person's theory from my experience with people I'm talking to. So take it for that. And I work with a lot older. My clients tend to trend older than your guys' clients, but there's a lot of those folks that have been thinking about selling at even around COVID and kind of held off and then prices are up 40% since COVID or so. So there was no real push to move, but I think I still feel like there's a pent up seller demand that we might see more of that, where life effects come into play rather than just your straight up mortgage rate that you have.
Yeah. We've been talking about that too, like the last couple months where the folks that have been holding off but need an extra bedroom or need an extra 2,000 square feet, whatever.
Or downsize the other way.
Either way,
need a single story.
At some point, you make a move not just based on financials, but on need.
Right.
Because you have to make a move or it would make your family or yourself more comfortable to move.
Yeah.
So I think I agree with you. I think that pent up seller demand is there and we're starting to see it. We're starting to see.
So maybe we'll see more of that going into the.
Well, even my own situation, my whole plan was I didn't want to move.
You're pent up, right?
Yeah, I'm pent up. I was planning to move this year. Okay, we were planning. We set aside our home. Okay, here's how we're going to fix up the house. Here's what we're going to do. Here's our budget. Here's all this kind of stuff. Here's our timeline. Let's get it on the market. It's supposed to be like in the next few months. We had my wife's changing up her job and stuff, so we decided to hold off for now. But that's the last few years I have not wanted to move because of the frenzied and just so many buyers out there, and not necessarily the limited inventory and this kind of stuff, but we were just kind of not timing the market. But this was, pent up for the last few years. It's time to move. Our kids are getting a little older. We need a little bit more space.
Yep.
Now it's time. Well, now it's pushed off a bit, but not because of the market. It's because of life situations. So yes, my own situation, yes, I was a pent up seller.
At some point, you know what's going to happen, Chris.
What's that?
Your wife's just going to say, I've found a house, we're leaving. And so you're going to have to sell your house.
All right. I'm in.
I mean, that's generally what happens.
Yeah.
But
even that most recent video, just as far as like the data goes, we were looking at kind of the inventory, the new listings coming on the market this year compared to last year. We're 18% up in San Diego County.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big number. Coming off way down here, but still, it's, 18% more than is a lot.
The crazy thing with our numbers, and I was looking at like how many homes sell over the past number of years, and you'll see years of 40,000, and then we got down to like 24,000 or so this past year in the whole county.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like almost 50% down, but so some of the, like John Burns Consulting's a big real estate. They do reports, these super 50-page reports every month, and their inventory levels that they predict are ticking up.
Yeah.
A lot of the price things I look at, though, predictions of prices, were really looking at it being flat to down this year. Coming into this year, they're already changing. Like Goldman Sachs has doubled they were 2% maybe this year, and now they're at 5%. And so it'll be interesting to see how things play out. They never play out the way exactly people expect.
That's why it's like, make your plan, set up your
That's
situation.
what I'm getting to.
get the best that's for you, like you can see all this stuff. Obviously we're in the business, so we're probably more, just kind of learning every day, seeing stuff that we're probably thinking our clients are seeing, but not. But, it's like what's out there in the media is but focus on you and focus on your goals and what you're going for. Yeah.
Yeah, the media, most of the national stuff and a lot of the headlines aren't actually giving you the real story. In the end, it's your neighborhood that you're looking at moving to or moving from. And even in different markets, in maybe what seems like a down market or moving up market, there's pockets of things going on that are very different. So I guess that's the way I would end this thing as far as advice. If you're thinking of doing something, whether you're buying or selling, because of the volatility the past couple of years, give yourself an extra month or two. I mean, that's where I would start, like get ahead of it. And so you don't feel rushed by the time you have to do something. So start talking to your real estate agent. Well, come talk to us actually. But in all seriousness, get your ducks in a row early so you can make the best decision for you. And like Chris said, I mean, you got to do it based on what's pent up.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on, right?
Yeah.
You got to make the best decision. Any last words of wisdom moving into spring real estate market here in San Diego?
I mean, we've been doing these videos every January for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
More inventory would be great.
Well, let's go make some. Anybody, if you need to sell your home, we're open for business. We're here to help.
Absolutely.
And we'll do a great job.